Yo, it's your boy Colin, aka Colin Trade CSP, back with you with another video. It's been a while, a lot of things has happened since I last posted a video, so I am trying to get back in the swing of things. Basically, I'm going to catch you up on what exactly happened this past week. I'm going to get you excited for this coming week as we have pretty big news events, but also pretty big events when it comes to the overall stock market, like the SpaceX IPO. What to look forward to. I do apologize on my recent absence. I'm going to try and get back in the swing of things, post more frequently, and see if I can get this thing going. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Sit back and relax. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more content, and let's get into it. All right. So like I always like to do at the beginning of the videos, I always like to look at the economic calendar to see exactly what is in stores when it comes to economic news. So looking at overall, Monday, nothing really going on. Tuesday, U.S. trade balances, really wholesale inventories, again, nothing really going on. Wednesday and Thursday look to be the main event for this coming week, as we have CPI, core CPI being reported on Wednesday, and PPI and core PPI being reported on Thursday. Consumer sentiment on Friday. So when it comes to economic news, really we want to make sure to pay attention to is Wednesday and Thursday. As right now, when it comes to the Iran war, we are currently at a potential standstill. No agreements have been made, and oil prices look to be steady at the moment. So this CPI will hopefully be one of the last basically inflated CPI news going into the second half of the year, as oil prices look to be staying at roughly under $100 a barrel, and global impact on this oil is starting to slow down. So hopefully this CPI comes out good because of the potential chance of the new Fed coming in and causing interest rates to potentially get hiked going into 2027. So as of right now, these are the main economic news that we need to make sure to pay attention to coming in this Wednesday and Thursday. And like I said before, we had pretty significant drawdown on Friday, pretty serious when it comes to the tech sector, going down roughly around 5% on QQQ at its peak. And a lot of people have ideas what potentially happened. Was this a SpaceX IPO liquidity grab? Was this a potential interest rates being changed going into 2027? So as you can see, there are still chances of a potential rate hike going into 2027. This was changing on Friday, so this is another possible chance of why Friday had such a serious sell-off. But also the other idea is that, again, we're at all-time highs. People are starting to take profits going into the second half of the year, the end of the second quarter. So a lot of people are basically taking their profits and moving into new sectors to potentially get some grab. So there's a lot of ideas of what possibly happened on Friday, but as you can see, one of the major things that happened was that with the unemployment rate was reported good, but with inflation being higher, there is a potential chance for a rate hike going into the second half of this year, if not going into 2027, which of course the markets would not like that. Another, again, major event that's going to be happening is the SpaceX IPO. So one of the ideas that what happened on Friday is that people are trying to basically sell out on some positions to look to potentially buy into this SpaceX IPO. but also there's a lot of bigger commotions going on with potential of the idea that SpaceX is currently tied to Twitter. Full disclaimer, this is just information that I'm reading off. This is not something that I 100% know or believe it to be true, but this is just information I was informed of, so full disclaimer on that. But as I'm aware, Twitter followers or people who invested into Twitter have a stake into the SpaceX IPO. With that being said, is they are one of the first people to get the SpaceX IPO. And what I was told is usually when you are purchasing an IPO, you have a 6-month lockup period. With you investing into the X platform as of right now, which is tied to the SpaceX IPO, you are avoiding that 6-month lockup period. So if you were to purchase this week, you would be locked up until the end of this year. But because of this X early IPO through X, they already served their 3 months, and now they only have a 3-month lockup compared to a 6-month if you were to invest this week. So that is leading up to potentially an early exit of September of this year. So, what does that mean? What does it entail? I'm not 100% sure, but what could be the case is that people could be selling positions at the top of the current stock market and looking to potentially move that money into this SPCX IPO, basically SpaceX IPO, come this Friday. Now, things could happen to where they move the IPO, but as of right now, it's looking to come out this Friday with a 1.8 trillion valuation. So now, with all that news, like I said, on Friday, we had a pretty significant sell-off and going into the close. As you see, SPY was down basically 3%. QQQ was down basically almost 5%, with the tech sector, of course, getting hit the most. So what I'm going to do now is just basically plan out going into the following weeks. As you guys know, we are traders. We do buy when it comes to long-term positions, but at the end of the day, the way we make that money is through day trading. So, we're going to plan out what's going to happen this week and see how we can potentially take advantage of the opportunity of such a major downside move. So basically what I'm looking at right now, as you can kind of see, is a slight support area roughly around this 730 on SPY. So this looks to be an area that I'm going to be paying attention to, the 731, 732 area for a potential bounce. Now look at that major sell-off. Now let's see if we can basically get a push down into pre-market on Monday. If not, go into the open on Monday. Test this 732 for a potential short-term reversal. Now, I don't think this is going to go all the way back to all-time highs after this bounce at 70.32, but we could see a potential bounce in this area for a nice day trade opportunity back into like 735, 737, and then maybe if it continues to push higher, this roughly around this 740 area. But overall, I do like this area's potential as support. When it comes to resistance, if we do push up out at the gates into the open, 740 is my first stop at resistance. As you can clearly see, resistance, we finally broke to, retested it, and then basically went long from there. So 740 for potential resistance, 731, 732 as potential support going into the open on Monday. QQQ, like I said, was the bigger fall off out of the overall market when it comes to what happened on Friday. We clearly see that a lot of basically resistance and supports were broken. So as like this 720 resistance broke through as support. We have a potential area to be support. Ignore this 618 fib. So we do have some type of short-term support area that we could look at that is in line with the SPY bounce, would be this roughly around this 695 to then 696 area as potential short-term support. This looks to be a nice area. As you can see, support used to be resistance as a potential bounce in the short term. Now, again, if we do potentially bounce at the open, then all I'm really looking is for potential resistance areas up atop, and that resistance area looks to be roughly around that 714, 715 area. As you can see, it did get a short-term bounce, but then rejected. So that as support to then resistance, support, resistance, 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 was support and resistance. So multiple key touching points on the hourly chart. So this is definitely going to be most likely going to be an area that I'm going to be paying attention to going into the open on Monday if we do potentially bounce. But if not, support areas at 695 to 696 as support. Now going into Bitcoin was the bigger sell-off of them all. As you can see, the past couple days since May 31st has just been complete sell-off from 74,000 all the way down to 59.3 at the low. So now this 60,000 has held up before. If we start to zoom out, this was a key support area back in February, but now we are testing it multiple times and we need to push off. If we do not push off this 60,000 with serious basically support like something like this, as you can see, literally a couple days after that we were back at 71, but as of right now we're not getting the same momentum push to the upside as we did when we originally touched this 60,000. So this is something giving me a slight red flag, as the bulls do not want to pull up at that 60,000 as a potential support area. So if this doesn't continue to push higher over the 65, I really truly then believe then Bitcoin can go into a further pullback, which then we're looking at the probably 40,000, 50,000 first level as potential support. Then next stop would probably be 40. But again, this is something I'm going to be keeping on the short term, as we don't know exactly if this 60,000 will hold as support. If we do decide to continue to break down, then I'll be keeping an eye on 50,000 and then 40,000 as potential support areas. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go into some small MAG 7 stocks, because as of right now, I really truly only trade is the MAG 7, but all of the charts don't look as good as others, so I'm not going to go through all 7 of them. I'm just going to basically give you guys some key names I'm going to be paying attention to, key levels, and just kind of speed run through this. If you guys have any suggestions of any type of tickers, you're more than welcome to leave it in the comments. I'm more than welcome to, in the next video, post. I do plan on posting more frequently when it comes to live day trades and other type of individual names as well. But as of right now, I'll just speed run through some, MAG 7 to see exactly if anybody's looking at any of these. As you can see, starting with NVIDIA, I do like this name going into next week. An extreme sell-off, one thing to pay attention to on the weekly time frame. You can clearly see we're getting a MACD push to the downside. I know a lot of people probably don't trade that, but I do like to pay attention to it. So as you can see, we are breaking this EMA cloud to the downside, closed under it, 205.10. I do expect this to push with an EMA squeeze to the downside, looking at a target of 195 at a potential short-term bounce, but really 190 for a longer-term squeeze to the upside. Microsoft had an insane move to the downside, also starting to show a light green squeeze to the downside. If this does squeeze from this recent push from 470 to then push to the downside, to be honest, I really seeing this retest this low back in March at 350, which then screams a buy with also a potential triple bottom. So we're going to get the 1 touch, 2 touch, and then maybe a 3rd touch for a squeeze. Hopefully push us back to the all-time highs. If not, then I do see this hopefully breaking down under that 300 area. But 350 weekly push, first test is 400, then we're looking at 360. Google had its dilution news over the week, with Berkshire Hathaway being purchasing, I believe, roughly around 10 billion worth of shares. But if at the end of the day, if you look at the overall situation, is that they're selling roughly around 30 to 40 billion dollars worth of shares. So someone's got to buy it up sooner or later. That's going to be the retail that they have to push out to the market. Weekly squeeze to the downside. First test is roughly around 350 for a potential bounce. If not, we're coming back down to these lows, these highs at roughly around 300, 305 area for a longer term bounce. But as of right now, 350 for support area. Apple's been the leader technically when it comes to this overall market. It's a very strong name, continues to catch buys, as you can see, literally just straight to the upside. Short-term bounce, roughly around 305, 304 area for potential short-term bounce. If you look on the daily, MACD still got some health in it, but the daily looks like it's starting to shoot to the downside. If we do break this 305 as potential short-term support, then really I would not touch this name until we get back to its recent highs at roughly around 287, 288 area for a potential support. Amazon's actually getting obliterated from its recent highs, all-time highs at 280. Where literally broke my first support roughly around that 255, 257 area. Broke my 250 support on Friday, so now this is completely on free fall. We have a lot of gaps to fill to the downside, so definitely going to be paying attention to this. So we have a gap fill to fill at 240. If we decide to break 240, then we're coming back down to little small gap 233. But I would love this name roughly around that 214 area at potential support area, roughly around this 214, 210 area. As you can see, support, resistance. Resistance. This 210, 215 area looks to be a very good area for people to start to take longs again. AMD's been on a tear as well this year, but now it's starting to show its cracks. A lot of gaps to fill to the downside. We did break to the Fibonacci all the way up to 4236 Fibonacci retracement. Now we're starting to get that free fall. If we do decide to continue pushing to the downside, gap fill for 451. We break that. We have a 400 potential support, but to be honest, with its recent push to the upside, I expect these gaps to get filled, which then, the next stop would be about 360, and then potential, just complete free fall. But I don't think it would come all the way down here, but if it does, then all-time highs, recent highs was 268. Very good buy for the long term. But again, you got a 360 gap fill. You got some gap fills to fill on this one, 451. Just pay attention to these names as this continues to break down. Meta breaking closed under this $600 support area that it had recently. So you had 600 support, or resistance, broke down, support, bounce, and then just played around. Now we're breaking to the downside, had a break of these lows as we tested 584. We do have a gap to fill at 538, but pay attention for the break and retest. If we do decide to break these lows at 584, pay attention to retest and then short to these gap fills at 540. Last but not least, Tesla with the SpaceX IPO this week. I really don't know exactly how Tesla is going to react, as they are both Elon's companies, but again, people could be selling out of Tesla to then buy into the SpaceX IPO, as it is technically a cheaper stock to own, but at the end of the day, higher valuations and stuff like that's another video. But as it broke its $400 support, let's see if we can get a retest of this 400 to then basically come back down to this 355 support area. really nothing crazy, as we had the downtrend, break of the downtrend. We also have this daily trend that was broken as well to the upside. Now let's see if this thing can squeeze to the downside, retest this 360 for a potential support area. Alrighty, that was a nice speed run. That is basically it with the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. A little bit longer than normal, but again, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, post more frequently, and try and get into posting more often. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit the like, subscribe button. Leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions of new type of videos. But I hope you guys have a great trading week this week. Let's have a great week rest of this weekend. And I'll see you guys next week with a new video after that Friday IPO. So hope you guys enjoy. You guys take it easy. Peace.